The First Crusade, which began in 1096, was a pivotal event in medieval history that reshaped the relationship between Christians and Muslims and had lasting geopolitical implications. Understanding this crusade is crucial because it set the stage for centuries of conflict, cooperation, and cultural exchange in the regions of Europe and the Near East. The motivations for the First Crusade were fueled by a blend of religious fervor and political ambition. Pope Urban II called for the crusade during the Council of Clermont in 1095, urging knights to reclaim Jerusalem and support Christians in the Holy Land. His rallying cry emphasized penance and the promise of indulgences for those who participated. By 1096, waves of knights and peasants began their journey towards the east, motivated by faith, adventure, and the allure of land. The journey to Jerusalem was fraught with challenges. The Crusaders faced harsh travel conditions, food shortages, and sometimes hostile encounters with local populations. The infamous People's Crusade, led by Peter the Hermit, suffered disastrously as ill-prepared groups clashed with Turkish forces. Meanwhile, the main Crusader forces, comprised of seasoned knights, were better organized. They captured key cities, including Nicaea and Antioch, through a combination of siege warfare and military strategy. A significant milestone was the Siege of Jerusalem in 1099. After enduring a difficult blockade and uniting various factions, the Crusaders successfully breached the city's defenses. The aftermath was brutal, with reports of massacres of both Muslims and Jews, illustrating the extreme violence that arose from the conflict. However, the First Crusade also resulted in the establishment of several Crusader states, which facilitated trade and rich cultural exchanges between the East and West. This interaction contributed to the spread of knowledge, art, and agricultural practices. Yet, the consequences were not entirely positive. The Crusades deepened animosities between Christians and Muslims and set a precedent for religiously motivated violence. The legacy of the First Crusade is complex, with its spirit echoing through subsequent campaigns and shaping medieval geopolitics. In conclusion, the First Crusade was not just a historical military campaign. It was a profound clash of cultures and beliefs that influenced relationships for centuries to come. Understanding these nuances helps us appreciate the historical roots of modern tensions and interactions in the region. Exploring this topic is essential for anyone interested in history, religion, and its modern implications. In their favor, the Islamic world and the Great Seljuk Empire itself was badly divided. Its Turkish governors, or Atabegs, were busy fighting each other, as well as the Shia Fatimids of Egypt. None of them was prepared for the First Crusade, or had any real understanding of its strength or aims. First Crusade. The Crusaders' first success came at Nicaea, which fell after a 6-week siege. But the city surrendered to the Byzantine forces, cheating the Crusaders, as they saw it, of their rightful plunder. It was a further strain on the delicate relations between Crusaders and Byzantines. They began marching inland, through intense summer heat, in 2 columns, a vanguard under Bohemond of Taranto, and rear guard under Godfrey of Bouillon. Then near Dorylaeum, Bohemond's vanguard was ambushed by the main Turkish army. Based on Crusader chronicles, this is our best understanding of how the confused fighting unfolded. Bohemond, seeing he was about to be attacked by a large force of enemy cavalry, sent an urgent message to the rearguard asking for assistance. Then he formed up his knights and ordered his infantry into a defensive formation behind them, protecting the camp followers. The Crusaders came under attack from all sides, facing a hail of arrows from Turkish horse archers, as well as javelins and hit-and-run strikes from their faster light cavalry. The knights were driven back onto their own infantry. Over several hours, losses mounted, but the Crusader line held. Meanwhile, Godfrey was racing up with the rearguard to join the battle. Troops were fed into the fighting as soon as they arrived. On the Turks' left flank, the Crusader advance was hidden by the terrain, so that they appeared suddenly, threatening the Turks with encirclement. When the Christian knights all charged together, the Turks panicked, turned and fled. It was a major victory for the Crusaders, and allowed them to continue their advance across Anatolia without serious opposition. At Heraclea, they defeated a small Turkish force, then split up. The main force struggled through the mountains of Cappadocia, losing many of their baggage animals, and running dangerously low on supplies. Meanwhile, Baldwin of Bouillon and Tancred, probably out to seize land and plunder for themselves, traveled south into Cilicia, capturing the city of Tarsus and other settlements. Tancred later rejoined the main army, but Baldwin was invited by local Armenian Christians to travel to Edessa, where he was soon installed as Count Baldwin of Edessa, ruler of the First Crusader state. In October 1097, the rest of the Crusaders reached Antioch, the next stepping stone on the road to Jerusalem. But outside its walls, the First Crusade would come to the brink of disaster, decimated by disease and starvation and encircled by their enemies. It would take a miracle to save them from annihilation. October 1097. 2 years had passed since Pope Urban II preached a crusade to help the Byzantine Antioch Empire in its war against the Seljuk Turks. Now the First Crusade had reached the great city of Antioch. It was the last major Turkish stronghold standing between the crusade and its goal, the holy city of Jerusalem. But Antioch was virtually impregnable, with its citadel atop a 1,000-foot mountain and too large to encircle. The giant Crusader army could only camp outside its walls and pray for a miracle. But that winter, they ran out of food. Horses, men, and camp followers began to starve. A trickle of supplies continued to arrive by sea, mostly from the Byzantine-controlled island of Cyprus, and they defeated an attempt by Radwan of Aleppo to break the siege at the Battle of Lake Antioch. But the Crusaders' situation seemed hopeless. Morale fell as deaths and desertions rose steadily. In March, a Crusader fleet arrived with much-needed reinforcements and supplies. Finally, one night, Bohemond of Taranto and 60 of his men scaled a tower on the southern wall, whose commander had been bribed. As dawn broke, Bohemond's men opened the city gates and the Crusader army poured in. They massacred soldiers and civilians alike, while desperate Muslim survivors fled to the citadel, which continued to resist all attacks. Antioch had fallen. But now a giant Turkish army was assembled under the command of Kurbuga, governor of Mosul. First he attacked Baldwin in Edessa, but abandoned his siege after 3 weeks and marched on Antioch. The Crusader army was exhausted, starving, and now trapped. They could expect no help from the Byzantines. Emperor Alexius, busy securing his own territory in Anatolia, had received false reports that the crusade had already been destroyed. Fearing a Turkish counterattack, he withdrew to Constantinople. Then inside Antioch, a relic was miraculously discovered, supposedly the Holy Lance, thrust into Christ's side at his crucifixion, and the Crusaders' faith in their holy mission was renewed. Although heavily outnumbered, the Crusaders decided to meet the Muslim army outside the city walls. With the zeal of religious fanatics, seeing visions of saints and angels, they charged the Muslim army, which turned and fled. Kurbuga, accusing his commanders of treachery, possibly correctly, set fire to his camp and withdrew. The Muslim defenders in the citadel, witnessing this stunning victory, quickly surrendered. Jerusalem. In summer 1098, Fatimid forces from Egypt captured Jerusalem from the Artukid Turks. Al-Afdal, Grand Vizier or Chief Minister of Egypt, saw the Seljuk Turks as his greatest enemy and even tried to make an alliance with the Crusaders against them. But the Crusaders were not interested. Instead, they spent 5 months around Antioch, foraging supplies and arguing among themselves. Stephen of Blois and Hugh of Vermandois had already given up and returned home. Now Bohemond of Taranto claimed the former Byzantine city of Antioch for himself. Breaking the First Crusade, which took place during the medieval period, holds immense historical significance. It all began in the year 1096, when Pope Urban II issued a call for the Holy Land to be recaptured from Muslim rule. This call prompted thousands of knights and peasants alike to undertake a treacherous and challenging journey. Along their path, these crusaders encountered numerous hardships, including severe scarcity of food leading to starvation and conflicts with the local inhabitants. 2 key events marked the progress of the First Crusade. Firstly, in 1097, the Crusaders successfully captured the city of Nicaea. This victory served as a significant stepping stone in their mission. However, the crowning achievement came in 1098 with the pivotal Battle of Antioch. The Crusaders emerged victorious, securing a major stronghold that helped pave the way for their ultimate goal. In 1099, The perseverance and determination of the Crusaders paid off as they finally reached Jerusalem. However, their triumph came at a great cost. The siege of Jerusalem was a brutal affair where the city suffered immense destruction and countless lives were lost. It is important to note that while the First Crusade did achieve its primary objective of reclaiming the Holy Land, it also brought forth significant violence and suffering. Many innocent Christians and Muslims within the region were caught in the crossfire and became victims of the conflict. The impact of the First Crusade extends far beyond its immediate outcomes. It altered the course of Christian-Muslim relations, leaving a lasting legacy. Moreover, it set the stage for future religious wars that would plague history. The complex nature of the First Crusade and its implications continue to influence and shape our world today, serving as a reminder of the importance of understanding the intricate interplay between religion, politics, and power.